Today, we're talking about some amazing numbers from Marvel Rivals, Xbox games possibly being made by AI, and could a new single-player Batman game be in the works? Stick around to find out. Welcome, friends, to this week's episode of Good Playing With You, the weekly gaming news show. I'm Dan Whitehill, and as always, I'm joined by my dependable duo of Matts, Matt Lord.
Hey, how's it going?
And Matt Maulding.
Hey now.
And this week, we're joined by a special guest, Perry Constantine. We've got a lot of great headlines to hop in, but first, let's meet our guest. Perry, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about your podcast, Superhero Cinephiles.
Thanks. I'm really happy to be here. My podcast, like you said, Superhero Cinephiles. If you like superhero movies, then you'll want to check us out. Matt Maulding's been on the show recently, although his episode's not coming out until the end of March. But we had a lot of fun talking about Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. And Every week we talk about a new superhero movie with a different guest. And some of them you might have heard of, some very obscure ones you've probably never heard of. So it's a lot of fun.
Ooh, can you name a very obscure one that you've talked about recently?
Recently, no, but I will say my go-to is the 1978 Doctor Strange TV movie.
Oh, yeah. I know about it, but I've never seen it.
That's awesome. And would you say that's your favorite superhero movie, or is there another one?
No, definitely not.
Your heart?
Favorite one? Probably Avengers Endgame.
Oh, great choice.
All right,
great
definitely.
choice.
I'd be up there with that too.
Yeah.
It's a very tight match between Infinity War and Endgame. Like those
That's
two.
a good one too. Yeah, it's sometimes they go back and forth.
Yeah,
good choice.
We've got a lot of great headlines in the video game space to jump into. But before we do that, let's talk about Avowed real quickly. Now, this is a recent Game Pass release. Lord, you gave it a really pretty positive preview on the last episode, and since then, the rest of us had a chance to jump in. And I know that we've got some differing opinions here. First off, Maulding, let us have it.
Yeah, so I respect everyone's opinion. It's getting such great response. People are really enjoying this game, but I do not enjoy it. I am powering through it the best that I can. I'll do the positive things first. It's absolutely stunningly beautiful. It is gorgeous, so colorful. They put a lot of work in it. It looks like it's all pretty much handcrafted. Like it looks fantastic. And the exploration is top notch. It's what I would love in almost any of these role-playing games. There are multiple ways to get to different places and lots of treasure just all over the place. But that's where my positivity on this game ends, unfortunately. Because as I was playing today, I was thinking, wow, there are a lot of places to explore and a lot of treasure to find. But almost every treasure that you find, it's a little bit of money and crafting materials and maybe a common weapon. Now, I'm just at the very beginning of it, but that is what I'm finding in every single package. A little bit of money, a little bit of crafting materials, and a little weapon. And I no matter how hard it is to find the treasure, that's what I'm finding. Again, I'm just at the very beginning of it, so it might get better, I hope. And then my other huge complaint is this world is called The Living Lands, and it is the most dead game, the most dead environment I have not ever experienced it in a long time in a game. The NPCs don't move. They just stand there. It's really uncomfortable sometimes to walk into this big city and everyone's just standing still. It makes it feel very, very unalive. I did see one NPC today that moved, and I think it was just triggered by me going into the town square. She moved from one area to the other, had a conversation, and I'm guessing when I go back into that spot, she'll still be there standing in that same spot talking to that guy. So I'm not the biggest fan, but not every game's for me. So I'm very happy for the people that are enjoying it, and I'm glad you are enjoying it. What about you guys?
Well, I can quickly go over. I did the little first impressions, played about 3 hours, and I had a good time with it. Like, I didn't think it's definitely baby's first RPG.
Yeah.
No question about that. It is, but I thought there was a lot of cool fighting combinations. That was my most fun. I love switching between the two different, like you could do a ranged and then you get a melee going. So I had like a cool little mace wand situation going on. I thought that was a lot of fun, just messing between the two of those. But once Malding said that the NPCs didn't move, I thought back and I thought, wait, they didn't move ever. Like, that's crazy. Like,
No. Some might
they have
sweep.
to,
I saw a couple sweepers
yeah.
that just stood there and swept the same
And-
spot over and over again, but no.
So yeah, that to me is kind of a deal. That's kind of a deal breaker. But I had a good time with the gameplay, and I really love the exploration. I love how fast paced it is. Like, I feel like we've been getting fantasy games that move in slow motion. So this one being more fat, like a quicker pace, is a breath of fresh air.
Huh. Interesting you say that about the combat, because in my review, I would say the combat is the worst part. It's definitely the weakest.
It's
in
bad.
fact, it feels
What?
so bad when you're swinging a sword. When you actually make contact, they have to make the creature that you're hitting flash red so that you know that you hit it, because the hit detection is so bad and it is so slow. Maybe it's because I didn't try the mace yet. I am still early on.
Yeah.
I'm probably only about 10 hours in, and I've been sticking to the sword and wand combo. And I agree, switching between the two is really fun. I like this wand because I'm a little bit lazy, but then some enemies have shields, so then I have to go in with the sword. I think so far the story's been interesting, but yeah, ever since Malding pointed out that the characters just stand in one space and then they speak to you and their, voice with their face going like that, I'm like, you asshole, you totally ruined it for me. It's not as good. I don't think it's very difficult. So when you call it, Lord, when you call it Baby's First RPG, I think that's pretty spot on. But here's the beauty of the game. We didn't have to pay for it. Xbox put it on Game Pass day one. Well, day 3 really, or whatever. So F them for being greedy.
Yeah.
But Xbox put it on Game Pass so that we didn't have to worry about it. So it can be perfectly mid, and I didn't spend any extra money on it, and I can't be angry at it. I think it's fun enough that I'm going to complete it. Do you guys think you're going to finish it?
I'll play some more, but I would like to say I am playing on PC. So like, I don't know if there's like a different, maybe like just the combat feels maybe a little different and there's quicker button presses on for the PC. Honestly, I don't know. I need to try it out on the controller just to see what it feels like. I just wanted to just interject that in there. But yeah, I'll be playing some more. I thought it was great. And you did touch on the story, which did you guys think it was like a little Last of Us-y? Because I thought so, with like the fungus and kind of zombie-esque and like people going crazy. I liked this. I thought the story was cool. So the story alone, I'll keep going for.
Nice. Glad to hear it. And it's funny. One last thing, Molding, you complaining about the same loot every single time. But what was the game we played where we would search bodies and then we wouldn't get any loot at all? So that's what I was gonna say. At least we're getting some loot. But there was a game out there where you and I played it and we wouldn't get anything at all when we would take the time to search the bodies, and you would not get calm down. And in fact, I think that made you quit the game, and I can't remember which one it was for life of me.
Is it The Division? I'd have to go back. I have to go back through our Rolodex of multiplayer games that you and I have played together.
Or maybe Dead Island or something like that. But anyway, so I was just thinking that it was funny when you were complaining about getting no loot. Now you're complaining about getting loot, but it has to be different loot. So
I gotta complain about something.
Yeah.
Sorry,
All
Perry.
right.
I think Perry hasn't played it, so sorry for taking that over.
No,
Exactly.
I don't have an Xbox. I don't have a PC. I'm on a Mac. I got a PS5.
Nice.
So I'd never even heard of this game until you guys just told me about it now.
Yeah, it's a big Xbox
sleeper.
release.
Yeah, and I'm sure Xbox will be porting it, unfortunately, to PS5 sooner rather than later. But with that said, let's move on to some superhero games and some headlines so that Perry can get involved. First up, let's talk Marvel Rivals. This game is huge right now, and it hit an even bigger milestone. NetEase announced on Thursday of this week that it surpassed 40 million players. Now, this article is from the Video Game Chronicle, and it's written by Jordan Midler. He says, Announced during NetEase's financial results on Thursday of this week, the company said that the hero shooter Marvel Rivals topped Steam's global top bestsellers chart in December and saw 10 million registered users in its opening 3 days across all three platforms. Of course, across all platforms. When Marvel Rivals released its first season last month, the game also went back to number 1 in January on the charts and saw 644,000 players play the game concurrently, launching it to number 14 in Steam's all-time highest concurrent player counts. This is higher than other popular titles like Apex Legends, Path of Exile 2, Helldivers 2, and GTA 5. Elsewhere in its financial results, NetEase announced that the games and related services net revenues were at $2.9 billion for 3 months ending in December 31st, and that was an increase of only 1.5% compared with the same quarter in 2023. Now, I did a little research, and it should be noted that NetEase also made other games. So the revenue's not just coming from Marvel Rivals, although we know it's got to be a huge part of it. But they are really big actually in the mobile space. So I wasn't as familiar with them, but they're primarily mobile stuff like Lord of the Rings, Rise to War, Marvel Duel, and Diablo Immortal. So this seems to be one of their biggest console games, which is huge numbers. And I want to get your thoughts on it. But first, I also wanted to pass on a couple more Marvel Rival news updates this week. Unfortunately, NetEase laid off a Seattle team of 6 people, and that was a big story this week. It's unfortunate to hear, especially with all the success that they've been having. They also announced that they were open to potential future release on Nintendo Switch 2. Quote, "We've already been in contact with Nintendo and are working on some development kits, so potential launch there." And then they also say there's currently no plan for PvE. So fans like myself are a little bummed to hear it, but they are, quote, continually experimenting with new game modes. Meanwhile, season 1.5 kicks off on February 21st and will include new characters like The Thing, the Human Torch, and a new map, Empire of Eternal Night, Central Park, plus the new season Battle Pass and season story events. So big numbers for Marvel Rivals, big plans, and a big update coming. What do you guys think? Perry, let's start with you.
So I'm not a big fan of these multiplayer games just because I'm a patient gamer. I kind of play much more casual. So whenever I jump into one of these multiplayer games, like everybody else just beats the shit out of me. So I can't compete in them. But I love that there's more Marvel stuff out there. I love anything that's getting people more interested in Marvel or superheroes. I'm all for. So even though this game is not my flavor, I love that it's doing so well.
Well, the second that they announce some PvE where we don't get sniped 24/7, I'm going to hit you up and we're going to jump in the game.
I'll give it another try then.
Yeah, sounds
this
great.
is
Well, we
not
got
a
2
snipey.
pros.
This is not a very snipey game. I'll put it right there.
Right.
You're not going to get one hit very often. It's not that frustrating in that way. But
Yeah,
Perry,
it's not
there is
Call of Duty.
also it's not like Call of Duty. But there you can, if you want, there is a versus AI play that you can do, so you're not playing against real people. You could just play versus the AI. So if you are worried, if you ever get, maybe like I do sometimes, get a little intimidated, especially when you're first starting to play a game that you don't want that feeling of like you're letting down your team, you can play versus the AI, and that might soften things up for you a bit.
I'll give that a try.
Yeah, just ride the coattails of Malding or Lord. That works for me, and then they just tell me what to do and where to go.
Yeah.
But okay, so you guys love this game. What are your thoughts on all the announcements and news coming out this week, as well as the new Battle Pass and content that's coming out?
I mean, I just have to say, like, with all these big numbers, I'm talking there's a potential big crash coming on, because I played last night and I'm with Perry. I was getting cleaned up on. Like, me and my buddy were playing, and I'm telling you, I don't know, there's something going on with the balancing in this game at the moment where I'm like, I'm hankering to get back into Overwatch, Malding. I'm just saying. I'm just like,
Ooh, big words.
yeah,
Big words.
I'm ready to go back to Overwatch. I'm like, there's something going on in this game where it just feels funky right now. So yes, maybe we got some new content cycling in that might balance the game a little bit more, but I'm telling you, people are gonna, it has some room to grow. Let's put it that way. And I think a lot of people are going to go back to old faithful Overwatch, especially now that they lit a fire under them to get some new aspects to Overwatch in the oven and that are coming our way. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy.
So I think those new Overwatch changes came out this week. I'm not sure because I have deleted the game from my console, and I do not plan on coming back and playing it because I actually disagree with you. I think Overwatch is dead. I think this was its death knell. I think they're trying to do whatever they can to get people to come back, and it's a great, noble attempt. I think these changes that Overwatch made are great. But I think it's too little too late. So I think people have already moved on. Like me, I think there's a lot of people like me. I also think that I like the fact that it's not completely balanced. I think that's one of the things that Overwatch shot themselves in the foot for, because they'd be like, a new update, and then, oh wait, Widow needs 25 more health. Oh no, Widow needs 25 less health. Like, they were constantly tinkering with it. And I love that that's not the way that Marvel Rivals is, that you just, if you're good with a character, you can clean up. And I like that.
Black Panther because
I'm not I am not good with Black Panther, but I'm fantastic with Mr. Fantastic, and I am fantastic with Rocket Raccoon. So both of those two characters I really enjoy playing.
Yeah. No, but also it's a good point. This game, without a doubt, is revigorating like the superhero stuff. I wonder if there's been like a boost in comic book sales or merch sales for different superheroes that might be like mained. I would love to know some stats on that, because I'm sure this game is like breathing new life into just new fans or old fans. Like it's definitely that big right now.
So I got some anecdotal evidence about that. I'm on Reddit every now and then, and like the Marvel Unlimited subreddit. And Marvel Unlimited, for anybody who doesn't know, it's Marvel's digital comic subscription service. You pay like, I don't know, like $10 a month or something like that, and you have access to their complete catalog. New comics come out like about 3 months after they're released for sale. So it's updated a lot. There's a ton of great content on there, and I'm seeing a lot more people coming on the subreddit asking for recommendations. They're coming in and they're saying, I just started playing Marvel Rivals, and then I got a Marvel Unlimited subscription, and I'm interested in checking out comics about, whatever character they like playing in the game. So I think we are seeing a little bit more like that. I do remember when they did the Guardians of the Galaxy game, they also had a free trial of Marvel Unlimited with it. So I don't know if that's something that they've been doing with Marvel Rivals at all. If they have, I haven't seen it, but that would be another great way to get more people into the comics, would be having stuff, giving free trials that people get into the system, and then they start getting hooked on the comics.
Full circle. Great. Yeah.
And that Guardians of the Galaxy game was fantastic too.
It was.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of fantastic games, the Batman games have a long legacy of being outstanding. And Perry, I know you have a story for us on a potential new one.
Yes. So what we got here is, it looks like Rocksteady had a new job listing, which hints at a possible new Arkham game. Like, this is just, very, very rumor based, but a recent report from Bloomberg's Jason Schreier suggests that Rocksteady could be doing exactly that with its next project, which is said to be a new single-player Batman game that could still be years away from release. The exact details of this new game remain a mystery, particularly be set within the Batman Arkham universe or be a reboot of some kind. It hasn't been confirmed in any official capacity, so there's still a chance that Rocksteady isn't working on it at all. And this came from Game Rant, and the article was written by Jay Brody Shiri. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Well, man, that gets my hopes up, because I'm a super huge fan of those. Even Arkham Knight, which everyone hated, I still played it and still loved it. And I don't care about the vehicle combat. I'll do it or whatever. Perry, did you play these Batman games?
Oh, yeah. I've played all of them at least 2 or 3 times. I've gone back to Arkham Knight a few times because, the Batmobile stuff is annoying, but outside of that, the regular, Batman gameplay is so much fun. It looks amazing. All the way they've upgraded Batman's skills, like especially I love doing the Predator mode in that. It's I've gone, and I love all the skins in it too. I love playing like the Batman '89 skin in it.
Oh, that's so true. Those are actually really cool. And yeah, those games look incredible to this day. You're right. You nailed it with like the graphics wise. And correct me if I'm wrong, Dan or Perry or Matt, is like, I think, didn't Suicide Squad just catch a bunch of flack because they were saying, because they killed Batman, now they're claiming he's a clone, and now they're creating the new game. So it's like a whole backlash.
It is
And
a wild reversing of course for that company. The fact that they went so hard into live service, flopped harder than anyone's ever flopped, and then went right back to what made them famous in the beginning. And I couldn't be more excited to hear that, because they do need a win. That combat system and the punching and all that sort of stuff was like butter. It was amazing. They had the stealth, they had the vehicle stuff, but they had the flying stuff, and they had the different powers and the batarangs and things like that were just so fun and so ahead of its time. They did kind of do the same thing over and over and over again. So it makes me a little bit nervous that they're going to try and return to the well, and the well might be dry. Malding, what are your thoughts on this?
Also, I'm with you guys. I love those games so much. I actually really liked the vehicle combat in the last one. I thought that was super fun, and I'm not concerned about it, because I don't think it was Rocksteady's fault that it was a live service game. I think it was Warner Brothers' fault that it was, and so I have confidence that this will be a single player game, even if it's copying a lot of the stuff that we had in the last trilogy, or I guess quadrilogy, because there was that one that wasn't from
Arkham
Rocksteady,
Origins.
right? Yes, which still I really liked that game too. I have confidence that they're gonna be okay. I don't think we're gonna see a live service game out of them anytime soon.
I think the 1-2 punch of Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad completely killed that. And like I'm
Yeah.
someone who will give all these superhero games a chance just because of that's what I love. But God, I mean, I was so excited when I was able to get Gotham Knights on sale, and just the traversal in it is garbage, and it's just like the combat is no fun, and like the story is not appealing enough. And I'm just like, I tried it to upgrade like one of the traversal things, and I'm just like, this is not any better. It's so I just gave up on that. I was excited when they had Suicide Squad free on PS Plus. Download it, played like the first level, and I'm like, you know what, I'm done.
Yeah, for sure.
Poor Dan over here had to pay full price for that.
Yep.
Mhm.
I completed both of them, and I can tell you your instincts were 100% spot on, sadly. I had a buddy I played co-op with, so the Gotham Knights, while I knew it was bad, it wasn't as bad as what ended up being the Suicide Squad, because whoo, doggy, all you did was stand on top of buildings and shoot guys in the legs, and then you'd go to another building and do the same thing, and it was physically painful. And the fact that I had paid for it, I just yeesh.
You took
So
one
I'm
for the
I mean,
team.
I thought
yeah,
because everybody was down on Marvel's Avengers game, which I thought it's a bit grindy, but otherwise I thought the characters were fun to play as. It's good in like short bursts, and so I thought, well, if everyone's complaining about that, they're also complaining about Suicide Squad and Gotham Knights. I think I'll probably still enjoy it. Nope, unfortunately not.
No, they're definitely different games. I also I liked Marvel's Avengers. I mean, everyone loves the single player story in that. I think the single player story was a lot of fun. And yes, the small doses is the only way I could play the online part. But I liked playing as Iron Man. I liked playing as Thor. There was a lot of fun to play as those characters.
there's something about the look of that game just didn't land for me. So never even
Once
lived
you
up
get
to
the
the
different
preview.
skins, it gets a lot better.
Good to know. But I just thought the Batman games were so beautiful for their
Yeah.
time. So I hope Rocksteady brings that back. But one question remains is, will AI be used to make these games? And if so, what level of involvement? I know, Malding, you had a story about Xbox and AI.
Yeah, this comes from Andy Chalk at PC Gamer. Xbox announces a generative AI model for gameplay ideation called Muse. Microsoft said in Wednesday's announcement of its new generative AI model, in nearly every corner of our lives, the buzz about AI is impossible to ignore. It's destined to revolutionize how we work, learn, and play. At Xbox, we're all about using AI to make things better and more fun for players and game creators. Microsoft acknowledged that it's still early, but predicted that Muse could be used for faster creative ideation, presumably by making it easier for developers to chuck in new stuff for the machine to play to see how it works. Interestingly, though, even greater focus was put on the system's potential for game preservation. Quote, time will erode the amount of hardware that's out there that can actually play a game, says Microsoft Corporate Vice President of Gaming, Al Fatima Kardar. But you could imagine a world where, from gameplay data and video, that a model could learn old games and really make them portable to any platform where those models would run. I think that's really exciting. We've talked about game preservation as an activity for us, and these models and their ability to learn completely how a game plays without the necessity of the original engine running on the original hardware, I think opens up a ton of opportunity. Amidst all the excitement about what its generative AI systems can do, Spencer and company predictably took pains to explain that its embrace of AI isn't meant to replace human beings, but to empower them, saying that, quote, game creators will always be the center of our overall AI efforts. And I will be the first to say that I think this is a smokescreen. And I think they're putting it out there that game preservation, quote unquote, is what it's for. But I think they're going all in on actually having AI make brand new games for them. What about you guys? What do you think about that?
They almost had me with the game preservation, I will say. Like, I was like, good, very good point. But oh my gosh, I have a conspiracy theory though. You guys ready? They
Yes.
I
have-
love
I
your
think-
conspiracy theory.
I
I
think
know,
they
they're
have
so
been-
crazy.
They have already been using AI. I think these companies
Oh,
have
for
been
sure.
using AI for a couple years now. It's just coming to the forefront because it's so public now. I think these companies had some sort of engine that they were toying with in the background that you just didn't know. And now it's like, okay, well, now it's like it's right here in front of everybody. So we've been seeing it. It's just now I think it's just like, what's the job loss going to look like? Unfortunately, I feel like that's going to be the next step. So that's my take.
Agreed. Perry, what are your thoughts?
I'm an author, so I'm very suspicious of all this like AI stuff, and a lot of it
Yes.
is. I mean, I think a lot of this is just like a big grift before the bottom falls out, just like the .com industry, or just like crypto's going to be. And I think
Or
there's
crypto,
going to be
yep.
yeah, there are going to be a lot of people holding the bag when the bottom falls out of AI because it can't do all the things they're saying it can do, and it's probably going to be a very long time before it can even do a fraction of what they're promising. I mean, I think there's maybe some good uses for AI in games, like when you're trying to adjust to players' levels, when you're trying to generate new threats in the game, stuff that comes after the creators have done their thing. But you have to have that creative base there to begin with. And I mean, I think the most interesting thing is the idea of game preservation, but there are so many other hurdles you have to jump over with that too, with rights issues and all that before you can get to what good use AI would be for game preservation.
Yeah.
Huge
It's a good
headache. You
point.
nailed
Yeah.
that. With just like, is that even going to be like, who is going to allow an AI engine to just like scrape their game? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's got to be some serious hurdles for that to happen.
I think that the retro games argument is definitely 100% the smokescreen. They're trying to say, look over here, this is really something you guys all want, and this is something that could happen if you'll let us use AI. And the sad fact is they've already been using AI. They have for a long time, but their application of AI and how they're using it, now that is the real question here, because I think if you're using it simply to just decode and debug your code, I mean, then there's no problem there because you still have a human involved, monitoring what the computer is doing, double checking its work, making sure it's not doing anything crazy, it doesn't do any hallucinations, doesn't add anything to the game that you don't expect. But then I'm telling you, we are going to see companies that rely too much on AI, that abuse it, that lay off a lot of their staff. They don't have enough humans to monitor AI. And we are going to see some companies, I predict, in the next year or two that are going to have some catastrophic failures in their games due to overuse of AI. I think corporate types will be as greedy as possible and try and automate this. They are going to argue for price increases. At the same time, they are going to argue that they need to eliminate their staff. And it's up to us as the consumers to keep an eye on them, because they're going to be greedy and try to pull a fast one. And we have to call them on their shit. I think people are already doing an amazing job right now of calling out companies that are overusing AI in their creative. Everybody knows to make sure you count how many fingers a person has in a photo on Instagram and that sort of thing. And I think we're going to get those sorts of stereotypes in the video game world too. It's going to get a little bit worse before we learn and how they learn to police it. It's an interesting space, and this is only the beginning. That's my thought.
I want to note that there are two other stories that I didn't write down. One is Elon Musk came out this week, or maybe late last week, saying that he wants to build a game company that only makes AI games, which of course is
That's
ridiculous.
exactly the problem. That's the
Yeah,
worst
exactly. Yep. And then the second story is, this isn't even, to me, this is maybe tied as the biggest Microsoft story, but Microsoft this week announced that they created a new state of matter for a quantum computing, a completely new state of matter that they made for their quantum computing chips. It's kind of tangentially video game related, so I didn't include it. But yeah, Microsoft really coming out swinging with those apocalyptic technology news this week.
Are they gonna port that new state of matter to PS5 also, or no?
Probably yes. Send it right on over to them.
Oh, sad, because it's true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Malton, you actually had another story for us, though, this time about a game that we all know and love called Call of Duty, and maybe some turtles.
Yeah. So Zach Zwiezan at Kotaku had this story. Call of Duty locks Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle characters behind an $80 paywall, and you'll have to spend $10 more to get the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Battle Pass. Activision is bringing the famous TMNT to Call of Duty Warzone and Black Ops 6. Players will be able to buy skins based on each of the 4 amphibian crime fighters, but if you want all 4 of them, you'll need to shell out $80. The new TMNT skins aren't bundled together, and instead, players will have to buy each turtle separately. And each of these heroes cost you $20 in real money, so that's $80 if you want the whole quartet. But wait, it gets worse. If you want a new Splinter skin and other cool cosmetics featured in the Battle Pass, you have to pay $10 to access the Premium Pass. That means if you want all the TMNT content, you have to spend $90, which is more than the total cost of Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Now, to be fair, the Call of Duty cosmetic packs for each turtle come with a finisher and some other items too, but still, $80 for all 4 characters is wild. But what is wilder is that Activision is charging this much because it knows people will pay. And they absolutely will pay. I will not be one of those people paying. I do not pay for skins like this. I think maybe I'd buy the Battle Pass. I'd contemplate that. But I think that Battle Pass is actually in addition to the regular season Battle Pass. Now, lately, Call of Duty, what they've been doing is they put out their seasonal Battle Pass and then 2 or 3 extra special Battle Passes throughout that season for an additional $10 each. They are just sucking up that money as fast as they can before AI takes us all over, I guess. I mean, I'm of a couple minds. No, I would never buy the skin, like I said before, but it will be really interesting to be playing Call of Duty and sniping a Donatello from across the map. I just don't know how that feels in the game. How it will, I don't know. I won't be able to determine until I actually play it. What about you guys? Would you guys ever buy Perry, you were talking about skins earlier. Would you ever shell out this kind of money for skins in a video game?
All right, so I'm not a big Call of Duty guy, but correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it a first-person game?
It is.
Yes.
Yes.
So
yeah.
You're
That's
paying
such a good
you're paying
point.
like $90 to just look at turtle hands. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, you'll
Yeah.
see turtle hands, and then what happens at the end of a match is if you made like a play of the game, you'll see your character there, and then the top 3 characters are shown as doing little emotes and stuff for about maybe 10 seconds at the end of a match. So you'll see
Yeah,
them
no.
there, but yeah.
I just think, to be honest, like, well, this, and there's been some other outrageous pricings for different skins, like some in Apex Legends, some in Overwatch. But in my opinion, this to me is proof that these live service games are just not sustainable. They are trying to go after the whales with these, and they're charging an insane amount of money. Like, if the live service model worked, this wouldn't be that expensive of a skin. Like, it's just, that's how my mind works. I know it's probably not. They're probably just grabbing as much money as possible, but still, I think there's something there. These like the live service is just in shambles. They're going to charge you $90. It seems completely crazy to me, and I don't know. It's just frustrating because now it's just like you see how much money people like are putting into these games, and it's like, it could be like quadruple the price or something of just like buying a $70 game at that point. So it's unfathomable. I would never spend this. I would never feed the beast is what I'm trying to say. So
That's a great way to put it, feeding the
yeah.
beast. I like that.
Yeah. So no. What about you, Dan? What are you thinking?
Hell no. Perry made a great point with the first person perspective in this game. So you can't even see your skin other than your hands. And I think that's ridiculous. But I understand them wanting to get in on the trend and make as much money as possible. What I really think here, though, is maybe, pricing them out of our reach and the common person or a person who has a brain is because they don't want to have like the common person be able to afford these. And I think what you said, Lord, was probably spot on, that they are hunting whales. They're whale hunting right now. And the thing is, they know that their Call of Duty is popular now, and then they've got to launch a whole new Call of Duty at the end of this year. And so they are just going to try and make as much money as fast as they can. The Blitzkrieg method. Try and get as much money as you can with their biggest collaborations and stuff like that until they're launching a new game this November. And it's just going to be hand over fist trying to get your money as fast as they can. And they probably did a model where it's like, okay, if we bundled it, people would expect a reasonable price. But if we keep it so high, they'll only be able to afford 1 or 2. And, they're like, at least we get $40 for it. And then we can put it on sale later. And it's going to be the long play, and they're going to try and reel you in here. And, unfortunately, hopefully people don't fall for it, because that's really what's going to keep the prices going like this.
I hope so.
What they'll do is they'll have this. They'll see how this goes. If this goes well, the next one they're gonna say, "Hey, we've got a Transformers skin that's $25," and it will just keep creeping up until they find a spot where people don't buy it anymore. And then you think of like you have to buy this game in addition to, so at least Overwatch with their crazy prices on their skins, at least Overwatch is a free to play game. But this game, unless you have Game Pass, you had to buy it for $70 right at the beginning, and then now you're spending more money. Woohoo! And
Yikes.
the price of eggs, oh my gosh, it's just really tough out there for people now.
I agree.
Jeez.
I think, unfortunately for this will probably work for them, because you've got these players that literally only play Madden and play Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And Madden also costs an abundant amount, and with all of the extras and bells and whistles. And people who just play one game don't mind continually putting in $20 every month. So unfortunately,
That's
for
an
their
excellent
game
point,
structure, I think it's going to work.
Yeah. Those people might end up spending the same amount of money gaming as we do, but they're only playing 2 games and they're buying all these skins and stuff. That's interesting. I didn't think about that.
That is a good point. Dang it.
I
hate to admit that it's probably true. It's so bad.
Yeah, it is true. And I'm also hate to admit that occasionally I'm guilty of it when it comes to games like Fortnite. And I know, Lord, you had our next story in Fortnite.
Yeah. So, gotta love some Fortnite news. So Epic goes nuclear on Fortnite cheater. So this comes from PC Gamer's Rich Stanton. So here goes. Epic has settled with a dirty, rotten cheater who made off with a chunk of cash from the 2023 Fortnite Championship Series, making them return the prize and post an apology video to their YouTube channel. Morgan Repulse God Bamford didn't have the stones to deliver the apology in person, choosing instead to post a 15-second video of text that reads, "Hey everyone, this is Repulse God." Shaking my head. I shared my Epic Games account with another user, Forbes, to qualify for the 2024 Fortnite Championship Series Grand Finals. My actions violated Epic's rules and I was disqualified from the tournament. Epic took legal action against me, and now I'm banned from participating in Fortnite tournaments forever. I also have to pay a monetary settlement, which includes the prize money I received, but did not win fairly, which Epic will donate to charity. Cheating in tournaments ruins the fun for the players who earn their spot in tournaments, and I apologize to the Fortnite community for my actions. I won't ever cheat in Fortnite again. Well, that's for sure, because this guy's not going to be playing any Fortnite anytime soon. And something about this one just caught my eye. Like, I love cheaters being made examples of. And then this goes double because tournament money is on the line. It's crazy that these cheaters like they just, I don't even know. Cheating in multiplayer games is always just beyond my scope of anything. So it's just crazy that these people are actually like bold enough to go in and cheat in these tournaments, or like it looked like they were doing some account sharing. And man, you get caught, and then you have Epic forces you to do this like YouTube video to basically just like apologize to the community. It's just an awesome. I love seeing this example. Like, Dan, the question is though, have you ever even ran into a cheater, do you think, in Fortnite before?
Oh yeah, for sure. There are people that run mods and that sort of stuff. And if you watch the videos online, they have tons of videos on YouTube where people are being busted. And then if you actually listen to them, they will say, oh, there's so many cheaters in these tournaments. And then that is always the excuse that cheaters use is, oh, I'm just trying to keep up with the other cheaters in the game. And that's why I'm cheating. So wait, correct me if I'm wrong here, because here's the thing that's blowing my mind on this one. Epic went after them because it was an account sharing situation and called them out as a cheater. Yet, like 2 weeks ago, Molding, you had a story about Elon Musk, who also used account sharing to get at the top of the leaderboards. Mm-hmm. And then he said he wasn't a cheater because everybody does account sharing, and then received no punishment whatsoever. Granted, he wasn't stealing prize money. Yes. But where is the line for cheating here, people? Like you're going to allow cheating on some platforms because it's not a tournament, but then it's all weird.
That's a really good point. And that could have I'm assuming the trial or whatever would take place before the whole Elon Musk situation, but dang, that would have been an interesting argument, just because that is such a high profile situation. Like account sharing in Epic's eyes, it's a bannable offense for life. And you will, like it said, he had to pay money and return the cash prize. So who knows how much they dinged him for also for this situation. So Epic might have like gone all out. It's pretty wild. Like, I don't know. Who knows? I always love to think that like cheating will go down. I don't feel like I've ran into that many in Fortnite, but then again, I'm playing a lot less Fortnite than I used to. But I just love to think that, oh man,
because you're not a 14-year-old boy. Is that why you're not playing a lot of Fortnite?
Yeah, those days are behind me. But yeah, it's just great. I love seeing these people just get torn up publicly. So it's good stuff. And I played some Fortnite last night, so this was really top of mind for me. And we got a dub. So let's go. I'm 14 again.
Nice. Perry, any thoughts on this one?
Just echoing what you guys said. I think, cheating in video games, it's one thing if you're doing single player and just doing it for fun, but doing it in these tournament things, you're just being a dick then. Come on.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
And,
I
especially
agree.
when it's prize money here, I'm glad that they made an example of this guy. And I love this headline. Bans him for life and all but sends him to his room without dinner.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
I
I
love
know.
that, this, Rich Stanton, he did not try to present this in an unbiased way. He's just like, nah, fuck this guy.
I know. He really did. I took some bits and pieces out there, but man, this guy, the editor of this article, he went full out. He was like torching this cheater. So all around, I feel like Repul Scott had it coming his way. So
And
crazy.
well, I mean, props to Repulse God. He did choose an apt name for himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
Good one.
So
Balding,
of
any
course
thoughts?
I agree with everything that everyone says. Hate cheating, think it's ridiculous. But I will put out there that when I play any of these online games and they give me that 300 pages of legal stuff that I have to agree to before I play the game, I have no idea what I'm agreeing to. I just want to play my game. Obviously cheating is wrong, and I'm sure cheating, the information is in that stuff, and I don't agree with it at all. But I also would like to know a little bit easier, in some easier fashion, what I'm agreeing to when I click that agree button before I play a game.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah, that is a good point. And also, I'd like to can we just say account sharing just generally across the board is cheating? Because Elon Musk sure says it isn't. I know the game was for money, but it's like some people allow it, some people don't. There doesn't seem to be a unified, stance in the gamosphere in terms of like in user engagement of what is cheating and what is not. And I don't know, like it leaves a bad taste in my mouth because some people are, cutting corners and stuff like that, where the rest of us schmoes are eking out wins every once in a while, but we're not exactly rolling in tournaments.
I'll say there were points during my World of Warcraft days when, good Lord, I would have paid real money to have someone farm that in-game gold for me to be able to afford some of this stuff, because it was so incredibly expensive. I never would have done that, but there's different variations of cheating, and some are way worse than others. So there is some gray area. I don't agree with any of it, but there's still gray area.
I mean, I'm going to come right out and say it. I think this idea of being able to buy upgrades and all that kind of stuff is a form of cheating in itself. You're not earning that stuff. You just have the money. I mean, it's one thing if like all these things you can get for money, it should just be cosmetic stuff. It should not be gameplay affecting.
Yeah, pay to win stuff
Completely
needs
agree.
to.
Pay to win. Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy. I know, like, I think Apex Legends got into some hot water with that one, and there's been a few other, pieces of like items in games that are just like, okay, this is clearly a pay to win item, and people just buy it up, and it's man.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a whole situation in itself.
It is.
All right, well, moving on, let's jump into the listener emails and topics of the week. If you want to suggest a topic for next week, feel free to hit us up at goodplayingwithyou@gmail.com. This week, Molding, I believe you have our first topic for us.
Yeah, because we have Superhero Cinephiles here with us. I was very curious that with Wonder Woman coming out soon, Wolverine, Black Panther, and Blade in our future, what superheroes do you want to see have their own game? And so I'll kick this off with my first one. I think that He-Man, though not probably considered universally a superhero per se, but I do think He-Man and that world that is so rich with different characters would be a fantastic environment for a video game. I could see it being a role-playing type game. I could see it being an action RPG. I think there's a lot. I could even see it being a Souls-like. I wouldn't want that to be the case, but I could see it. There's lots of options that you could do, and just that cast of characters that He-Man has is just so deep and a lot of fun. Maybe even like a Marvel Rivals sort of thing could be a lot of fun with those characters. So there's a lot of stuff that He-Man could do. I really loved He-Man growing up, so that's something. Maybe because he was so muscular, that might have had something to do with it. But I really enjoyed my time, so I would would love to see a He-Man game. Dan, what about you?
I think just the conversation that we've been having with Batman coming back, but then Perry brought up the Gotham Knights. It made me think like I absolutely fell in love with Dick Grayson, his story, his backstory. That is where I would love to see Rocksteady go. I think the Robins haven't gotten justice by Rocksteady yet. I think they could do some really cool stuff with them. Dick Grayson in particular, I thought was an amazingly interesting character. The combat, of course, wasn't there for him, and his story they just briefly touched on it. He's always been a favorite of mine. He hasn't gotten justice in the video game world, and that's where I'd put my money.
Nice.
Perry, what about you?
So I'm a huge Superman fan, and I think if one character is overdue for a really good game adaptation, it is Superman. I mean, there's a ton of different things you could do with it. I thought the Superman Returns video game that came out with the movie, it had some interesting ideas in it. The whole idea that Superman is actually invulnerable, he doesn't have a health bar. Instead, you have to try and save the city, was a pretty good idea. The execution kind of lacked, though, because basically the city health bar became your health bar instead. So they kind of missed the boat on that, but I thought the idea was really interesting. You could do things where you're having his powers upgraded, just like in the Arkham games, where he's got, different levels of uses of his powers. You could incorporate things where, you have to make decisions to like, how do you prioritize stuff as Superman? If you hear like all these crimes going on at once, then you have to prioritize different ones. What you prioritize could change the nature of the game. I think something like that would be interesting too. There's a lot of cool things you could do with that. The other thing I'd really like to see though is, this would probably never happen just because the rights would be a mess, but Marvel versus DC, get like an epic Marvel versus DC fighting game.
That would be awesome.
With an extra
like in the
format.
Capcom versus Marvel, like that in that sort of vein.
Yeah. But also, I don't know if you guys knew about the Marvel vs. DC in the comics back in the late 90s. They also had this event called Amalgam where they combined Marvel and DC heroes together and they printed out a bunch of one-shot comics. So you had like Darkclaw, which was a combination of Wolverine and Batman. You had Amazon, who was a combination of Storm and Wonder Woman. Super Soldier, who was Superman and Captain America, and so on and so forth. So I think a really cool mode in that would be an amalgam mode where you can mix and match different DC and Marvel characters together and kind of create your own. Kind of like in the old wrestling video games, they let you create your own custom characters. Do that, but with mixing and matching different DC and Marvel characters.
Ooh, I would absolutely play that.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I'm really into that.
I know it sounds like a legal nightmare, but it does sound awesome.
I was thinking Superman 2, Perry, and in my mind, I would have liked maybe he's just learning his powers. Maybe he's young Superman, and that's how you get the progression of his powers. Is he's learning all these things that he can do one after another, and that's how you kind of level him up. That was one of my thoughts too.
Yeah, and
they did that in the comics where they had Grant Morrison writing young Superman, and he started off like with just being able to like run fast and superhuman strength and some invulnerability, and he was just wearing like a t-shirt and a cape and jeans, and it was a really cool idea to show him progressing as a characcer.
I think he's cool too. But he's been hard to do in video games. In fact, he's pretty much synonymous with one of the worst video games ever. Was it like Superman 64? I think I love the idea of the early take. My 2 cents essentially is that I would love, because, and the argument is always that Superman's like invincible or whatever. So then maybe you have some sort of Lex Luthor character or something like that that comes across a lot of the kryptonite, and he like feeds it out to his bosses or his underlings. And they make kryptonite bullets, and they have kryptonite like knuckle rings, and you've got to find a way that you can actually have a health bar, because I agree, having the city be a health bar sounds really, really weak, and we need a way to be a little bit more vulnerable as Superman. I'm all in if you can just solve that one piece of it, then I think it'd be great.
What about you,
All
Lord?
good points. I also would just
Lord.
Well, let's see. For me, I just think like a solid Punisher, super brutal, super M-rated game. For some reason I'm thinking of it like, what if we did like a one-take God of War type style game that's just like start to finish, super brutal, like just tearing up baddies. I know there have been a couple Punisher games back in the day, but like that was probably like PS2 or something. Like it's been ages. So I could use a little more like, it's just like, I mean, and plus like Deadpool and all these other like very like brutal kind of comic booky, like some of those are very popular right now. So why don't we just like get in there and make this like dark. I want it to be dark though. Like, no, there can't be any like funny
Not
business
Dragon
at
Age
all.
Veilguard.
Not Dragon Age Veilguard. It has to be extremely dark, extremely brutal, and like good Punisher game. I'm all over it.
Nice.
Did you ever play the
I would
old
totally
Xbox
play that.
one?
Oh, is that? I think that was probably like, yeah, the PS2-ish era Xbox, or was it just Xbox?
I think it was just on Xbox, but it
Just
was
Xbox?
brutal. They even had like
Okay.
torture
Yeah.
scenes and like where you could push it too
Oh.
far and you could with like different environmental torture effects. It was really brutal. It was a really good game, and that's another thing. I want some of these past games to be remastered and re-released, like
Yeah.
like that Punisher game, the Ultimate Spider-Man one, or the X-Men Legends. I love those games on PS2.
I loved X-Men Legends. Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought
If
that was a
only
lot
like,
of fun.
if only there was like some AI to do this for us.
I do want to bring up that I had another choice. I would love to see a single player Fantastic Four game where there'd be some cosmic force maybe that puts them all into one body, and you have to choose which character takes over their body at a certain point, and then that's how you get over like environmental hazards and stuff. So maybe because there's a fire hazard or something, so then you change into the Human Torch to take care of that fire hazard. I think that could be a really fun. I love the Fantastic Four, and I'm super pumped for the movie coming up. So
Yeah.
and I'm super pumped to play as Human Torch in the Thing in Marvel Rivals starting today. So I think that'd be fun.
I like points for creativity on that one. If we're going to keep doing add-ons, then I'm also going to add on that I know Wolverine is coming, but I'm still super pumped for it. I'm going to say I low-key loved the 360 version of Wolverine because I know it wasn't the most popular, but you could just jump on people with your claws and claw them up, and you could fly around the room jumping on people, and it was so much fun. And I'm going to be secretly judging this new Wolverine when they finally show it off back to my memories of the 360 version, because he sure was a fun character to play with as a superhero, and he kicked a lot of ass.
Nice.
No, that game was
Wolverine
solid. One of the few movie tie-in games that was better than the movie.
Yeah. Right on. I'm glad I'm not the only one who had fond memories of it. That's awesome.
Nice.
Okay,
Good choices,
moving on
everyone.
though. Yeah, great choices, gentlemen. In fact, that segment went longer because it was a good one, and I had great ideas. We're just like brainstorming video games here at this point.
I know we're doing the work for him.
Yeah,
Exactly. All they have to do is plug our podcast into AI, and they're going to get some interestingly fucked up video games. But Lord, you had our last topic.
Yeah. So, Dan, this one obviously is kind of directed towards you because you're our graphics guy on the show. But what game would be a 10 out of 10 if the graphics were better? And I'll just kick us off because I just had one that really came to mind when I was thinking about this. I thought the first Dragon's Dogma, like, there was this one game that I just think could have looked better. And then again, I was playing on the Switch. So like, yeah, that's just wild. But when I was playing that game, I was like, man, this game could use just a little bit of extra graphical polish. And I'm not like I am 100% like, I'm pretty relaxed when it comes to graphics, but I felt like that game was a bit of a standout to me. So what do you guys think? Maldi, why don't you kick us off?
We just had the 7 Days to Die re-release or remake, and it was almost there with everything, but I really wanted the graphics to just be kicked up a notch. A lot of the zombies were carbon cutouts of each other, so you were killing the same zombie over and over and over again. I loved the exploration of it, but some of those houses could have used a little bit more polish. So all of that combined, I loved 7 Days to Die. Just kick those graphics up a bit, and I would have been even more in love with it.
I got to back you up on that 100%. That's such a good call, because I had a good time, but also, it wasn't the best looking game, that's for sure. Perry, any thoughts from you?
I'm definitely not a graphics guy. I'm kind of with Lord on this. Like it's never been a big concern with me. If the graphics are good, that I really appreciate them. But I mean, I'm an old school Nintendo guy, so I came back in when
Yeah.
graphics were nothing. Anything that looks better than that still kind of blows me away.
Well
I
said,
think that's
Barry.
completely
Well said.
valid because there are some of those games like Stardew Valley where the graphics, aren't top notch, but that game is just an incredibly fun game. So I can agree with you on some points for sure.
I totally respect that opinion, but I sure can't share it. I'm a graphic
Yeah.
poor. It has to be amazing looking for me to spend my money on it. And I really love all the bells and whistles. And I love all the buzzwords for like emotion engines or ray tracing or whatever that means. I'm blast processing. I'm all about blast processing. I'm in it. And if you have a marketing hook for me that's bullshit, will buy it even more hook, line, and sinker. It's just got to be an amazing looking game. That said, my pick would be an amazing game, but just wasn't there for me on the graphics, and that's Mad Max. I hope everyone gets to play it. I hope they remaster it. But this was made back in the day where like the art styles were like dictated, and you did not like deviate from a certain palette. And they chose brown on this one. So there are dark browns and there are lighter browns and there's some grays in there maybe. Ooh, but it's like, oh man, this game had the combat, it had the car chases, it had the leveling up, it had looting and weather effects. It was such a cool game, and it just was also brown. And then you watch the movies and they've got like the chalk explosions and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, okay, that would make this the perfect game that people would actually play, because I know it kind of bombed and got overlooked when it first came out, but it truly is a hidden gem. And I think everyone can agree on that. It just needs that spit and polish, those next gen graphics, all that ray tracing and blast processing and color. Color is a thing here, people. Don't be afraid of using it in your video games. And I'm telling you, this would be a AAA knockout out of the park remaster. And that's where I put my money, because I love that game.
Great pick. Nice.
I mean, I will say, like, even though graphics aren't a big thing for me, if you're gonna remaster a game, then at least put some effort into the graphic remastering. Because I've seen some ones, and you're making me buy the whole game all over again, and it looks barely any different.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
100%.
They're looking at you, PlayStation.
Yeah. Holy.
Good stuff, gentlemen. And thank you for joining us, Perry. Any shout outs to your podcast or anything that you want to promote?
Yeah, you can check us out over at superherocinephiles.com, or just search Superhero Cinephiles on any of the podcast providers. Like I said, Malding's been on. We recorded about a week ago, and that's coming out at the end of March. So please be on the lookout for that. And again, if you like superhero movies, you like superhero TV shows, you like to hear me talk about rant about them or praise them or get some odd takes on some of them, then come check us out.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it was super fun. Thank you so much for joining us and for having me on your podcast too. I had a great time.
Thank you. It's a lot of fun here from my end too, both cases.
Great.
Well, that pretty much wraps up everything we have for this week. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you're listening on a podcast, please tell like 200 friends. And on behalf of Matthew Malding, Matt Lord, Perry Constantine from Superhero Cinephiles, and myself, Dan Whitehill, thank you for joining us. And as always, good playing with you.
Good playing with you.
Good playing with you.
Good playing with you.